looking to the heavens today for our new quilt pattern called Orion Star. Well, the pattern is named after the constellation Orion and my son Orion, the star. Well, I have a galaxy of quilts to show you. Two traditional patterns, the evening star and log cabin, are combined for an exciting new look. Well, selecting fabric for Orion Star quilt is the same as selecting fabric for a traditional log cabin. Sue Bouchard selected this beautiful, large-scale, multicolored oriental print for inspiration. And then she pulled all of the colors from this one print for the block. The star is a rich dark brown, and then it's surrounded by 3 earth tones on the light side and 3 sky tones on the dark side. Just beautiful colors of the earth. And I just love the pieced backing on this quilt. Sue always loves to do that. Well, Sue also made this quilt for her son Dylan and daughter-in-law Kelly's wedding. She chose 3 black on white fabrics and 3 white on black fabrics, just reversed, and then combined them with bright pink stars to make a modern interpretation. Well, she made extra star points and turned them into a unique border treatment. Oh, and her daughter-in-law loves it. Well, my sister Judy's striking quilt just sings out in 7 tones of rich harvest colors. Deep pumpkin stars contrast with soft wheat and vibrant squash colors. Well, our cousin Carol Sleppy quilted gorgeous feathers throughout the wheat field, and then she stitched in the ditch through the plaid field. It's abundant with beauty. Beautiful. Well, Martha Hernandez's intense red stars are abundant, floating across a winter beige and black sky. Martha selected similar values with varying scales to carry out the striking design. Amy Potter quilted turning leaves and a trailing vine through the borders. Very striking. Another name for the evening star is Simple Star, and that is exactly what it is. Join me. We're going to stitch up a galaxy of stars. This is such a cheery Orion Star quilt with the bright yellow for the sun, the clear blue for the sky. How about that verdant green forest? It's set together in an all 7s design, perfect for 4 blocks. Now, Amy did the quilting. She did a very easy free motion design right in the center of the star, stitched in the ditch around the star points, and then 1/4 of an inch away from all of the logs. She finished it off with the ocean waves in this yellow border and even more in this large floral print. Ooh, it's just beautiful, very relaxing. You know, when Orion was young and he went to the quilt classes with me, you are not going to believe this, we actually tore our fabric. What a freeing experience. What a great way to start off the day. Well, we were doing 2.5-inch strips for log cabin. These are the fabrics that I selected. They're similar to the one on the wall. I love the dark star right in the center. This is the light side. You need to have 3 different lights, and they are actually different scales of prints, different textures, similar in value, but they look great. On the dark side, I used a light to medium to dark value in the blue. Also, different textures, different scales, small scale, large scale, medium scale, and they look great. Well, just in case you're not sure if you like your fabrics, take the time to do a paste-up sheet. It'll really help you as you go along with your sewing. The star goes first here, the 3 lights in a row, and then the 3 darks. And you can see how you just build from the center out. It's perfect. Well, I already have a sample of my block. You know me, I always have to make sure I like what I'm doing. Now, the star itself has the dark points on it. Now, the dark points are also referred to as the flying geese patch. So that's what we'll be doing today. Notice that the single triangle in this one, There is light, the yellow, in 2 of them, but only 1 light corner, a 2.5-inch square. On the dark side, we've got that same single triangle right inside the star points, but this time there are 3 2.5-inch squares. Well, with this layout, then a stair-step pattern is created, and that's what makes that interesting design. I'm going to start right in the center with the star points. Oh, and the tools have changed so much too. Rotary cutters, rulers, they're all different. Well, this is the fabric for my star points, and I'm just going to take it and start by folding it in half. So basically I have 4 layers. Put in a fresh blade, and I am really doing great. It goes so well. Now, I'm using this slotted ruler that you can cut through the layers quickly. You line up 0 across the bottom here, and also I have a little extra on the left of 0 so that I can straighten it. You put your cutter in the slot at 0, just cut straight across, and that's the straightening one. Get rid of that. Now this star points are made from squares that are 7 inches square. So I'm just going to cut a 7-inch strip. And then the centers of those stars are 4.5. So I'm just going to move on over 4.5 more inches and cut a 4.5-inch strip. Easy, just a little extra. Save that for another quilt. Well, while you've got your 7-inch strip here, let's cut our 4 7-inch squares. So just line up a 0 with that selvage edge to the left. Go 7, and then move along to 14. Gotta keep track of your math. All you need for the 4-block wall hanging is 4 7-inch squares. That's pretty easy. Now, this is the center squares. Well, it's pretty obvious. Once again, you're going to only need 4, but you can switch around and use a square up ruler to cut your 4.5-inch square. So I'm just going to line it up. When you use a square up ruler, you always have 1 in the upper right corner. All right, we're looking good. It's going very quick. These are extra, another quilt. Basically, the whole center of the star is made from squares. We still have 1 per block of the first light, and for the first dark, you need to have 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. They're all 2.5 inches square. But I want to get onto those log strips because they're so much fun to do. I actually have the pieces all lined up, and I need to clear my table. So we have lots of space. Okay, now grab the whole stack. I've got my second light and my second dark, third light and third dark. And I lined up the edges all along here. The first 3 are all the same. They all need to have 3 2.5-inch strips. I need to have more of the third dark. So I've got that one on the bottom. Well, this time I'm going to use a different ruler that you don't have to fold your fabric in half. I'm going to do the same thing, line up the 0 right along here. I've got 0 on the left edge. I'm just going to get that sharp blade in there, move along, straighten that edge, get rid of it. Now, what's unique about this ruler is that there are only slots at 2.5 inches. This is perfect for a log cabin or any of the quilts that you make that have only 2.5-inch strips. Now I've gone the whole way across and cut 3 of the top 3 pieces. This is the fun part. You can just go ahead, roll them back, and stack them up. That's the second light and the second dark. Oh, this is when you're really going to want to refer to that paste up sheet. So you make sure you get them in order. This is the third light. Roll these down. Oh, let me grab hold of that. Getting a little tough there. Okay, stack them up. And I actually have a little extra of all of these fabrics. Ooh, another quilt. Set that aside. And then all you need to do to finish this off is just go back to that third dark, line up your edge, cut your very last 2.5-inch strip, and I am now ready to organize my sewing. We're starting with the star. Now we already cut the 4.5-inch center square and the 7-inch squares for the star points. We also need to have 5.5-inch first light, 2 of those, and 5.5-inch first dark, 2 of those to make 4 stars. Well, take your light and center it on top of your 7-inch square. Just place it right sides together and draw a diagonal line corner to corner. Now, just to make sure I've got this square in the center, I like to use a square up ruler and drop the diagonal line down the left side. Check and make sure that your ruler touches all 4 corners. If you have all 4 corners touched, you are perfect. And then just draw a diagonal line. Well, from this point, you sew a 1/4 inch seam from both sides. Just zoop, 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 right down one side and around the other. And I did exactly the same thing for the first dark. Now, once your 1/4 inch seams are done on both sides, take this patch. You can go ahead and line up that diagonal line again and just cut it in half, into 2. Well, you know, these 2 squares are actually going to make 4 star points. Pretty amazing. You'll really like it. Okay, so set the seam with the large triangle on the top. Now, it does not matter at all about the color. It matters about the size, and it has to be the large triangle. So make sure you get that large one on top and open and press towards that large triangle, and you have 2 pieces that are totally strange. So now we're going to put these back together, right sides together, but match up the green with the yellow. You line up the outside edges. Forget about trying to match those seams. You're not supposed to do it. But just make sure you line up the outside edges. So look at these as goose tails just hanging out there. Honk, honk. Okay, and now I'm going to draw another diagonal line. And once that seam is there, see how you have seam flipping up here and underneath? Got another one down underneath there. Well, it's best if you hold your stiletto so these don't flip. And once again, you sew that 1/4 inch down one side and up the other. And you do exactly the same thing with the blue. Oh, I am moving along. Now, we're up to the point where we're going to take these and just cut right down through on that diagonal line again. Just hold that tight, cut it. Now, when you open it, you go, oh, I get it. If I fold this in half, I've got star points. Perfect. Well, you're going to have them in the yellow, and you're also going to have them in the blue. So now that you've cut them in half, you want to press the seams away from the single triangle. So fold, match the tips right here, and at the fold, just clip to the stitches. And that way, you can press them in opposite directions. Okay, I like to hold up one side. Take the tip of the iron and press into the single triangle. On one side, pick it up, hold up that side, press into the single triangle, and just check on the back. Ooh, look at that. So that the seams are going in opposite directions right in the middle. Perfect. So now we have to square them up. All along they've been a little oversized, and that's the best part. We get to square up these into smaller sizes. Put your patch on a small cutting mat. The ruler that we're going to use right now says 2x4 finished geese. Actually, the size will be 2.5 by 4.5, including the seam allowances. So let's take these green lines right here and just slide them right into that single triangle. It is perfect. And now cut them in half. Very important to literally cut them in half and then trim down one side. And without even picking them up, you can just turn your mat, rotate it, and trim out that perfect star point. Now you're going to need to have 2 per block in the yellow and 2 per block in the blue. And remember, you've got 1 yellow, 1 light in the corner, and you've got 3 first darks in the corner. So your stars together and you are done. Now comes my favorite part, the strips. I am just a stripper at heart. Well, I have my stars done, and I have them arranged in this order beside the strips. Okay, this is the second light, second dark, third light, third dark strip. And just take a look at the block because we're just going to go around it in order. We're going to add the second light twice, right beside the other lights. And then it's second dark twice, third light twice, and then third dark. And the block is done. It's a 16-inch block. Well, this is assembly line sewing at its best. So I'm just going to take my strip and lay it right like this, right side up. I like to just go ahead, put my presser foot down, put my needle down, and I am ready to sew it. So let's just go ahead, turn the blocks over. Make sure you put the yellow on the yellow side. Oh, that is very good. Use that same 1/4 inch seam and just watch when you sew across your points. You might want to go ahead, hold your point down with your stiletto. Don't cut off your points. You can tell by looking at your stitching that you want to go right across that V, and then it'll be sharp, very crisp from the other side. Once you finish one star, you just pick up the second one and you butt it right behind the first. And if you want to leave a little space, that's okay. Or if you just want to butt it up tight, you just keep on going right down through there. Good old working for the Union label. Okay, now I have one set on. So all you do is just get a ruler, get a good straight edge, and line up the edge of the ruler with the edge of the block like this, and the top of the strip with the ruler, and cut. This is extra, you can get rid of that. Now this is right where I butt the 2 pieces together. Make sure you line up the straight line across the top of the block with the strip and cut. So you just keep on cutting the whole way down to every single one of them. And once you've cut a part, then you're just going to press towards the seam. I like to just drop them on the mat with the strip on top. Set the seam with the strip across the top. Open with your fingertips and just kind of glide them and just really press that seam. Now if you keep on pressing that block over and over again, by the time you are done, you are going to have a distorted block. So really just concentrate on that seam. So we did the rule, we sewed it on once, and now we have to add the same strip down the second side. This first strip, second strip. So just get the strip always in the machine, right side up, press your foot down, needle down. Last strip you added on always goes to the top. That's another rule. Oh, there are so many rules. And so you just pick up this strip and you assembly line sew. Well, so many people ask me how Orion got his name. What fun. Well, he's the second son. The first one is Grant. And Grant stands for great. So his dad and I had to come up with a name that was just as wonderful as Grant the Great. Couldn't come up with it until I went to a baby shower. At the baby shower, we played this game where we were all sitting in a circle. We had to start with A. Give a name for the baby boy. Abraham. No, didn't sound good. B. Bruce. No. C. Charles. Well, we kept on going through the whole alphabet, and finally we got to O, and somebody said, Orion. I said, I love it. Orion, Orion the star, Orion the hunter, just as good as Grant the Great. And so he became Orion the Star. He loves his name. You know, he hates it, though, when people call him Orion. And whenever he was younger, we actually went to Disneyland and had a little hat made for him. And they embroidered his name on the hat. Well, wouldn't you know, it looked just like Onion. And so he became Onion Buns at school. So fun. Well, I added another strip, and you're just going to press it open, press it out, and you just keep on going. Okay, I used this one twice. Just take this whole stack, get rid of it. Keep on going, adding your strip each twice. And once your blocks are all done, then it's time to lay them out. 16.5 inches. You don't need to square them up if you've been doing a really good job. I think I might just like to take and turn all of my blocks in towards the center with the light right in the middle. Make a big sunny cross right in the middle. So you're topped together and you're off to machine quilting. I've been trying to decide which fabric to use for my borders so I can finish this quilt. Well, with the sunny yellow all turned in towards the center, the blue ends up around the outside edge. So I've got to start at least with a yellow. So I decided on a 2-inch large scale yellow. It's going to go right along here. The second border is a large scale blue with a little yellow in it. Now, if you'd like to add just a touch of your star, you can put a folded border. And a folded border is a 1 1/4 inch strip that you press in half together, wrong sides together. Just actually sew it right in between the two, and just a touch shows. That'll bring the star fabric out to the outside edge. I love it. Looks good. But, you know, maybe I was just far too hasty in deciding on this layout. Let's just switch the blocks around, see what we can come up with. Let's just take these blocks and turn all the darks right into the center like this. And we'll turn these around, turn them in here, one more block. And now we have a whole different arrangement. That's the fun of these blocks. Obviously, we've got yellow on the outside now. These borders aren't going to work. So we could choose to do the blue, a narrow blue, followed by a large scale yellow. Looks great. This is fun. How about let's try the traditional one? This is good in any color combination, the fields and furrows. Now you look at the third dark, and you think of the third dark as a 7, and beside it an L. Now you just alternate in the next row. So this row is an L, and this one becomes a 7. And you have wide bands, those fields and those furrows going through here. The log cabin is just so much fun to mix around. Well, another popular one, especially if you have a very dark third dark that really stands out. And that pattern I call all 7s. So we've got 3 all 7s going here. Let's turn this one around. So every one is a 7. You can see that the third dark is very strong around 2 sides. So to complete that whole concept, you need to sew these 4 blocks together and then add another 2.5 inch strip on the 2 sides around the outside edge, and that will work great. How about let's see if we can do one more. We're going to do the windmill. Let's see, this is an L, and then this is a backwards 7. That's good. And this is a 7, and over here, let's just call this one a backwards L. And then we have the windmill. So much fun. I love to do it. Well, I was going through my things and I found a little quilt that Orion made probably when he was 4 or 5. I was quite busy that day. And so he went in my sewing room, found some blocks that I'd already sewn together, and he created his own quilt. found the batting. Oh, we were using nice fat batting those years. Oh my gosh, it must be about 30 years ago. He selected his backing pretty good. You know, I think that some of the stitches have already fallen out because I can see the thread hanging on here. This was probably folded around like that, and he was so proud of his miter. I think it's pretty good too. Nice big stitches. It's wonderful. Well, if Orion Star is your first quilt, remember, you have to start somewhere.